Coming up on Wrestling Life. He was probably one of the most recognizable people on the planet. That look, wherever he went, people knew who that man was. And whenever I show a picture of me and Hulk Hogan, the school that I'm at always gives him the biggest applause. And kids, I mean, they weren't even alive when he wrestled, and they still know who he is. But I mean, he just had a real soft side to him that gave, the side that did the charity work, the side that helped other people. You know, Ben and Ash, how many wrestlers say the reason they got into wrestling, just like you just said, is because of a man named Hulk Hogan? Yep. This business would not be as big as it is today if it wasn't for a man named Hulk Hogan. This is Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, the show that celebrates wrestling's past, present, and future with real talk from real talent.
Welcome to a very special Wrestling Life today, part of our Gone Too Soon series. Usually when we do these Gone Too Soons, we're talking about wrestlers who maybe have passed away 5 or 10 years ago, and we're looking at their legacy and everything they achieved in their life. Today's is very different. The wrestling world has just been shook to its very foundations by the loss of Hulk Hogan, and wanted to jump on and talk about this as soon as possible, really, whilst we're going through a lot of emotions about this. Joining me in the show today is my co-host, as always, the People's Broker, Ajaz, and special guest, good friend of mine, much more importantly, good friend of Terry Bollea's. It is, of course, the marvellous one, the wild man, Mr. Marc Mero. How are you both, gents?
You know, good to see you guys.
Yeah, man. Really good. Really good to be here.
I'm really happy to be doing this podcast and in honoring and the life memory of Hulk Hogan.
Well, take me back. I mean, you and I talked a lot about Hulk when we were writing the book. Take me back to when you and Hulk first met. Was it presumably it was WCW Johnny B. Bad early days?
It was, and you know, he always referred to me as the bad man, you know. So that was a kind of, whenever I heard that voice, I would know it was Terry down the hall. The two guys that always referred to me as bad men was him and Macho Man. Had that voice that you just recognize all over the world, man. And he just always treated me with such kindness, and we became friends. And but even more so, I mean, going through wrestling, he was always very, very nice to me. You know, always went out of his way to give me a handshake or big hug. But I remember really getting close to him after wrestling when I started the Champion Choices program, because he always had a love for kids. I mean, for all the charity work he would do. And when he saw me doing that, he was just like, brother, anything you need, you just ask. And I did. And as you've seen some of the promos he would make for me, or if there was a special student that was going through a really hard time, I just write him a letter and say, hey, can you send this kid a letter? And oh my gosh, he would send like a poster or something that would really make the kid just, or whoever it was that got this, could not believe that they got a signed poster or picture from Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, because he is. I mean, Ash and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, obviously Ash is there in his Hulkamania t-shirt. He was an old school Hulkamaniac. I wouldn't be, doing what I'm doing today if it hadn't been for Hulk Hogan. You know, if Hulk Hogan hadn't exposed me to the world of wrestling, I wouldn't have become a wrestling fan. He was just so larger than life, wasn't he? But was he like that outside of the ring? Like, was there a Hulk and then a Terry?
You know what's amazing about him is, you know, when I knew him, he was probably one of the most recognizable people on the planet, not just wrestling, on the planet. I mean, That look, wherever he went, people knew who that man was. And you know what's really strange is when I show highlights of my wrestling career, and whenever I show a picture of me and Hulk Hogan, the crowd, the school that I'm at, always gives him the biggest applause. I mean, by far, he always gets the biggest applause at schools, and kids, I mean, they weren't even alive when he wrestled, and they still know who he is. But I mean, he just had a real soft side to him that, you know, fortunately I got to see that side or be around that side quite a bit. And the side that gave, the side that did the charity work, the side that helped other people. You know, Ben and Ash, how many wrestlers say the reason they got into wrestling, just like you just said, is because of a man named Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
This business would not be as big as it is today if it wasn't for a man named Hulk Hogan, along with Vince
100%.
McMahon, who took this thing national. But he had to have a driving force. He had to have the engine to do this, and Hulk Hogan was definitely the engine.
And that is so true, Mark, 100%, especially when you ask people like Mount Rushmore, that conversation always comes up. And how can you not have Hulk Hogan as one of the people on that Mount Rushmore? The other three are debatable,
Yeah,
but I think you gotta have Hulk. The other three you can kind of scramble with, but you gotta have Hulk on there, in my book, at least.
Absolutely, 100%. He is the number one person on that Mount Rushmore. You're right. The other three can be debated. There's a lot of, who should be on there, whether it's Flair or Austin or
Marc Mero,
Taker.
Yeah, there's so many you could mix in there,
Yeah.
but you cannot do it without a Hulk Hogan on that Mount Rushmore.
No, and I think when you come to mainstream, I mean, I was having this conversation with someone earlier today. Probably the only two wrestlers on the planet that everyone knows are Hulk Hogan and The Rock. They're probably the only two names and even if you don't know exactly who Hulk Hogan was or is, you recognize him. I think anyone who saw him would recognize the yellow and red and Fu Manchu and everything. He was iconic to the point of just global recognition, wasn't he?
I mean, I just want to say something like, my mom doesn't watch wrestling. She can't sit in front of the TV, but she knows Hulk Hogan. So when she was flying to come and see me a couple of years ago, she still got quite a few of my action figures in my old wardrobe. So I'm like, Mom, can you bring some of my action figures? Because I want to give them to my son. And she's going through them. She's like, which ones should I bring? Should I bring Hulk Hogan? I was like, oh, definitely. Yeah, bring Hulk Hogan, because I want to tell my kid about it. And just to say, Mark, I've got an action figure of you as well, the Johnny B. Bad. So, it's still there in the old cupboard. That'll make its way to UK soon as well. But
Awesome.
when she's asked me, I'm like, yeah, Mom, bring Hulk Hogan for sure.
So there's a photo that was going around, Mark, especially it's been going around a lot over the last week. I saw it on quite a few news sites. It's you and Hulk and Rena and Kid Rock. When was that? When was that photo taken?
That was at the Hard Rock Cafe in Orlando, Florida. Hulk invited us out to, just hang out, and Kid Rock was going to be there. So we all got together and just hung out together. And what a fun night that was, man. But again, Hulk including, his friends and things that he was involved in. And that was how he was. He always liked to have his friends around. And it was a night that I'll never forget. I mean, hanging out with Hulk Hogan, but meeting Kid Rock on the same night was pretty cool.
So where were you when you heard the news of his passing?
Let's see, where was I? I was home and I got a text message, and it's so hard to believe because I knew he had the surgery, and I'm hearing, you're hearing the conflicting reports of, there was the Dire Straits report of that he wasn't going to make it, and then you heard that he's on the beach. It was just so different, But then when Fox News broke this story, and that he passed on, it was one of those things where it's just so hard to believe, because he was bigger than life, man. He really was. I mean, I want to share the story about going to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, because that's really where, because of him being bigger than life, changed my trajectory where I was sitting that particular day. So let me share the story. Was that it was 2004, and Tampa Bay Lightning were in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs for hockey, and it was in Tampa, Florida. And a friend of mine, Mike Carrier, said to me, man, I'd love to go to the game. I go, man, imagine going to Game 7 of a Stanley Cup. He goes, I'm going to try to get tickets. I go, how are you going to get tickets? This thing's been sold out for forever, And he goes online and he finds someone that was selling 4 tickets. And of course, it was astronomical price, and I go, man, that's way too much. He goes, I'm paying for it. He goes, I'm buying the tickets. You guys, we go with me. And we were like, me and two other friends and Mike. So the four of us drove from Orlando to Tampa. And I got to tell you, Ben, these seats were embarrassing. They're like the nosebleed. There is like the ice looked like it was this big, You had to watch the whole thing on the big screen they had, And so, but anyways, going into the building where they do like security checks to make sure you don't have any weapons or whatever, and give them your tickets. As I'm walking in, the security guy recognizes me. He goes, "Oh my gosh, Marc Mero, how you doing, man? Hey, you're not gonna believe this. Hulk Hogan just walked in a little while ago." I go, "Really? Hulk's here?" He goes, "Yeah." And so I'm walking in, and I see this big commotion because Hulk was in the hallway. People all around him, and he's signing autographs and stuff. And all I said was, "Hulk's there." And he looks over, he goes, "Bad man." He goes, "Over here." And I walked over to him. He gives me a big hug. He goes, "Man," he goes, where are you sitting?" I go, "Hell." And I told him the story about how we got these tickets at the last minute. He goes, "Oh no, you're coming with me." And my friends were like, "Are you kidding me?" And I said to him, I go, "Well, I got like 3 buddies with me." He goes, "How many buddies you got? Let's go. They're my buddies." So he takes us into the owner's box at the Tampa Bay Lightning, the owner of the team. And my friends and I are like, "This is not happening, man," And of course, now Hulk is going to get the game started. His daughter, Brooke, is singing the national anthem. And so when the Hulk's out there after his daughter sings the national anthem, he rips his shirt off and he's doing all his poses and everything. And of course, he comes back and we're hanging out. But I got to tell you, man, the way he treated everybody, like when we walk through the crowd, I mean, everybody obviously recognizes him. He's like, it's like hanging out with Michael Jackson or something, And he's just high-fiving people and hugging people and signing things. He's trying to sign as many as he could while he's trying to walk because the game's going to start here, So hanging out with him, and his obviously he was married to Linda at the time, but he had his family with him, and it was just a day I'll never forget, man. I remember the one picture I think I sent to you was us in the crowd with all the people behind us, and he's giving me a big hug, and that's the Terry I knew, man. That's the Hulk Hogan I loved, and so proud to call him a friend. And of course, all the things he did with me with my school program and doing the promos for me. And so many schools, obviously, teachers that grew up watching Hulk Hogan recognized him and go, "Oh my gosh, Hulk Hogan?" And it got me into schools. And it was just so many great memories like that. The Hard Rock Cafe, the Stanley Cup playoffs, the wrestling matches, the backstage stuff and everything he did and represented. I got to see the really good side of Hulk Hogan.
Title Run Toys Series 1. Dangerous Danny Davis. Wrath. Juventud Guerrera. Ernest the Cat Miller. And Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, coming to the ring soon.
And when I say good side, he was a really good person. I don't care of all the things that people may have said or people witnessed or things he may have said. And I got to tell you, Ben, and I want to address this. I want to stay real positive, but something that really hurt me was seeing some of the negativity online after somebody, especially someone that has done so much good in this world, compared to the little bit of things he may have said or done that weren't so good. And I got to tell you, don't judge me because your sin is different. Every one of us has had a moment in time where we said or did things that we were like, "I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I did that. And I'm so sorry." Or it's just private that no one's ever going to see it. But if anyone ever saw maybe something I said or did in private, or you or someone else, we'd be canceled forever. And that's the world we live in. But when people can't forgive, and even the hardest part is reading some of my own brothers in Christ that wrote some terrible things about him because he was recently baptized and how beautiful was that he was baptized, and someone could say something negative about that. That's between you and the Lord, man, in the sense that you're giving your life to Christ and you're acknowledging him as Lord and Savior. I know that guy. I believe with all my heart, he is seeing things that we can only imagine right now in the afterlife in heaven. And I don't know. I'm just blessed to know that he is my brother, and he's my brother in Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you said, like, he was so well known to the point that he literally couldn't go anywhere without getting mobbed. And that is a level of fame that very few of us could even vaguely wrap our heads around, because, as you say, like, we all do make missteps, and, undoubtedly he made missteps. And as I think Cody Rhodes said on SmackDown, like, it's a complicated legacy, because it is, because he was this, he was the quintessential wrestling babyface. And the problem with that is there's only one way you can fall. You can't really go any higher. You can only go downwards when you were put on that higher pedestal that he was for so many years. And yeah, we do all make mistakes. And I was, I said to Ash, I said this to a few people, the level of sadness I experienced at his passing has actually really shocked me. It's really deeply affected me. I felt very, very sad, because I think he's so representative of our childhoods, and he is wrestling. As I said, like, he is professional wrestling. Still, if anyone says to me about what I do for a job and this, it's you interviewed Hulk Hogan. As you know, Mark, he was like one of my bucket list guests to have Hulk Hogan on the show. Like, he's just such a force. And I mean, we were talking about this, Ash, weren't we, the other day? Like, how old were you when you discovered Hulk? You were very young, weren't you?
I was very young. So for me, that was like my first memory of wrestling or becoming a wrestling fan. That sight, WrestleMania 3, Hulk and Andre kind of like coming together face to face, and watching that as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid. I was mesmerized, that the whole scene, and watching that match, and I was hooked. I was a Hulkamaniac. And then watching him body slam Andre, I was like, what is this? I want to be that. I want to do that. I want to be that guy. And when my son kind of became a wrestling fan, I went back and I showed him that match. I said, look, this is what made your daddy a fan. Because I used to watch wrestling with my dad, and we shared all these memories of Hulk and watching Hulk matches and stuff like that. Even to this day, me and Dad, we talk about it, and all these memories. So that was my memory. And still to this day, that match is so good. I still go back and I watch it. It's not a long match, but it's so great. It's so amazing. So that's my first interaction with Hulk and becoming a Hulkamaniac.
And I mean, for me, it was WrestleMania 6, him and the Ultimate Warrior. So a couple of years later, but I just remember because I remember the artwork. I remember my a good friend's dad owned a Blockbuster video store, so you could actually see all the VHSs lined up. And I just remember seeing like this giant bronzed guy ripping a shirt, and then this other kind of crazy guy with superhero paint on his face, and the two of them, I was like, what is this? This looks incredible. I remember watching that match, and of course I didn't understand psychology. I didn't know babyface versus babyface. I didn't know anything about passing the torch or stealing spotlights or any of the kind of things that have been talked about WrestleMania 6 in the years gone by. I just saw these two incredibly larger than life people battling it out in front of a frenzied crowd, and I was hooked. WrestleMania 6, I saw that, I was like, this is amazing. I want to ask you, Mark, about 1995 in WCW, because obviously 1994 in WCW rather. Obviously you're there, you're Johnny B. Bad, you've been part of the company for about 3 years now, and suddenly it's announced that the single biggest star in wrestling is jumping ship from the competition. And obviously Hulk comes over, they do this whole kind of ticker tape parade, like they make this huge thing of Hulkamania comes to WCW. Only a couple of years earlier, when you're first there, like WCW is struggling to get 500 people to center stage for a TV taping. Like, how significant was it Hulk Hogan signing with WCW for you as a talent?
Well, it was incredible. I mean, first of all, the excitement that many of us had never met Hulk Hogan or had the chance to see him wrestle in person. now are going to be backstage hanging out with him. It was just incredible. But knowing it's going to bring so much, shine that bright spotlight on WCW wrestling, who was struggling at that time, and bringing him in and really change things up, man. It was incredible. And I remember first meeting him, kind of nervous, meeting Hulk Hogan, but he made me feel like he's known me his whole life. He just was that bigger than life personality that just brought you along with him, man. And just big handshake, big hug. He'd compliment me on, like I couldn't believe he even seen one of my matches. He goes, "I love your work, man. You are so talented." And he was really going on and on about my Johnny B. Bad character, that it just brought this friendship that just happened so quickly, and maintained for years after that. I mean, all the way till, obviously just passing. I think I shared one with you, a recent Twitter exchange that Hulk and I had, and how kind he was to me, and how he'd always just be so glad of what I'm doing now, speaking and helping other people, because that's what he loved to do.
Mm. Did he, I know obviously he supported you a lot with Champion of Choices, recorded a lot of videos, talked a lot about anti-bullying, and was very involved. How much did that help you in post wrestling, when you're trying to get established on the speaker circuit and trying to, build a platform for the young people? How much help was it to have Hulk there with you along the way?
Well, I mean, it's just obviously because of his reputation, his name, and everything like that. It was much easier to get into places that opened doors for me much easier than if I was just trying to knock on a door and people don't remember who Johnny B. Bad was, but they certainly know who Hulk Hogan was, and they saw one of his promos that are introduced to me to the school. They're like, "Damn, this guy's got to be somebody." So it was kind of funny. But what else was really cool was Hulk was a big car fanatic. And my brother Joel has a big collection of classic cars. And of course, I had a 1970 Superbird, and that was the one car that Hulk wanted so badly. And I remember at the Mecum auction, Hulk was bidding on a 1970 Superbird, like the one I had. And he got outbid on it. And I remember how frustrated he was. Like, damn, I was so close to having one of those, But anyways, yeah, so we talked cars, and we talked, charity work, and all good stuff, man. It was like, when I went back through so many conversations we had, and every one of them was so positive. And he always says, he always says love, always had love, HH, on every one of them, much love or whatever. And that's just the way he was. And I don't know, I'm so glad I have those, because it really brings back a lot of memories of our conversations that we had.
Yeah, and I mean, Ash was obviously, you were a big Johnny B. Bad fan back in the day, as I was. I mean, it feels to me like if your heel turn had happened, if your face turn had happened a bit later, a heel Johnny B. Bad and a face red and yellow Hulk Hogan would have been money. I mean, I would have loved to have seen some of those "I'm so pretty" promos being cut in the face of Hulk Hogan.
Well, you know what? We both wore a feather boa, so we did have something in common.
A feather boa on a pole match.
That would be something.
Well, obviously, you've jumped to the WWF in 1996. Within a few months of your WrestleMania 12 debut, the NWO arrives out of nowhere and changes wrestling forever. Were you paying attention to what was happening down in Atlanta when you became a wild man? Yeah.
Because of my friendship, obviously, with Diamond Dallas Page, who just took off after I left WCW. I mean, he just skyrocketed. And so we were always, talking on phones and, stuff. And I'd rewatch the show when I could, or see clips of it or whatever. And Dallas would be filling me in on all the stuff that's happening, and especially with the NWO and them trying to turn Dallas to NWO and then fooling them all and coming out on top, and then eventually beating Macho Man and becoming world champion. It's just an incredible journey, and having so much fun watching that, because I still had friends over at WCW when I jumped ship to WWE.
And I know you're really good at not living with regrets. And that's one of the things I love always speaking with you, Mark, because you're really good at always just looking forward and not looking back. That being said, Was there a little part of you in 1996 when obviously you're facing fake Diesel and fake Razor, and the Wildman character hasn't exactly skyrocketed like you'd hoped? Is there a little part of you thinking, wow, if I'd hung around in WCW, what potentially could have been now that the NWO is here?
It's hard to go back and think like that, but when I even try to, I think about, and we talked about this in my books, the success of my ex-wife at the time was overwhelming to see what was happening there. And that obviously that never would have happened if I would have stayed over at WCW. So I don't live with what if or what could have been or whatever, but I don't know what would have happened if I would have stayed there, because the Johnny B. Bad character would have had to evolve. Whether it was maybe going to the NWO, maybe, being the bad man of the NWO. You had the bad guy and the bad man. That would have been pretty cool with the NWO. Who knows, but like I said, I have no regrets. And I'm glad that I got to do what I always set out to do. And that was to go to the dance, and that was WrestleMania. And being undefeated at WrestleMania, 1-0. So. I'm Marc Mero, former WWE Intercontinental Wrestling Champion and 3-time WCW World Television Champion. I am thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Bad to Good. The inspiring story of a wrestling wild man chronicles the highs and lows of my life, both in and out of the wrestling ring. It's a powerful narrative of overcoming adversity and the importance of perseverance, no matter how tough the journey gets. Co-authored with my good friend and award-winning journalist, Veal. This is a story I've long wanted to share, and I truly hope it inspires you. I hold nothing back in this book, revealing the untold truths of my extraordinary life, from my modest beginnings and my first boxing match to the struggles with addiction that almost consumed me, and my evolution into the charismatic Johnny B. Bad. This book offers an insider's perspective on the world of professional wrestling and my journey as a sports entertainer. You'll read about my pivotal negotiations with Vince McMahon that led to the first ever guaranteed contract in the WWF, and how that decision marked me within the locker room. I discuss the impact of my relationship with my then wife, Rena, known to fans as Sable, on my career. I also confront the darkest moments of my life, how I hit rock bottom, and how that experience sparked my rebirth, leading me to become America's leading motivational school speaker, inspiring young people and transforming lives. Featuring forwards by my good friends Diamond Dallas Page and Lex Luger, along with contributions from Mick Foley, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, and others who shared this wild journey with me. Bad to Good is a story you don't want to miss. Head to Amazon.com or WrestlingLife.online now to pick up your copy.
I think as well, the other thing that maybe a lot of fans might not realize is about the XWF time that you had as well. After your time in WWF had come to an end, and that wouldn't have happened without Hulk Hogan's involvement, would it?
That's true. Yeah, he was very close with the owner, and who put a lot of money into this new organization that we were going to start. And getting to wrestle, in the XWF, I got to wrestle Mr. Perfect. One of the guys I've always wanted to wrestle. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest in-ring performers that ever lived. I mean, there's, you take it top five, at least top five was definitely Kurt Hennig, and I got to wrestle him. Another one that I got to put on that list is Eddie Guerrero, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. People don't realize what a great in-ring technician he was, calling matches. But that was a lot of fun too, because Hulk kind of ran the show over there and asked me and my ex-wife to go along with him to become part of the XWF.
Ash, I'm going to put you on the spot, but if you had to pick one Hulk Hogan match above all others, do you have a favorite?
Oof, you have put me on the spot.
Yeah,
and
that's a big one,
real
isn't it?
tough. And there's so many. The match against Andre, the Ultimate Warrior, you mentioned, Macho Man. But if I really had to pick one, I would have to say Rock Hogan WrestleMania 18.
That's what I was just thinking of. Yeah.
For a moment, like that iconic moment, got to be the greatest WrestleMania moment, maybe one of the greatest wrestling moments. So for me, that was my childhood coming face to face with my adulthood. And I described that match watching it at a bar. And when this match came on, everyone gathered around the TV and was watching this match. Like, you saw these people, you're like, man, these are not wrestling fans. What do they know about wrestling? Guys, girls, everybody. And I kind of hated it, but I couldn't enjoy the match because they were all talking so much I couldn't hear the TV. But as soon as the match was over, they all disappeared and there was nobody in the room. And then kind of like, okay, that was the main event. But for me, it's got to be Rock Hogan, WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's interesting because that 2002 run that he had in WWE is a fascinating time period, because obviously he comes in as the NWO. That very quickly has to change because he is so over with that crowd that he has no choice but to be a babyface. But over that summer, he has cracking matches with Kurt Angle, with Chris Jericho. He puts over Brock Lesnar clean. Like, he really worked his tail off. Obviously wins the title from Triple H, loses it to The Undertaker. Like, considering he was in his, I think he was 52 or 53 when he made that comeback. Genuinely remarkable, and the love that people had for Hulk Hogan, see him back inside the WWE ring. But I would agree with you. That's probably my favourite. I also, probably slightly controversial because his name doesn't get mentioned very often anymore, but I absolutely loved the match he had with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 19. Just because of the history that went into it, the storytelling, some of the camera work, the random Roddy Piper cameo in it. Like, it was just like a kind of wrestling fever dream of things that shouldn't still be happening in 2003. But how about you, Mark? Is there a match that stands out for you of Hogan?
I gotta agree with Ash. I think Rock versus Hogan, because they were the two most popular wrestlers planet-wise, where everyone knew those two guys was so big. And it was, you got to remember too that Hulk's body was destroyed at this time too. People don't realize that he wrestled in such pain. His body was just broken, and he, and I got to tell you guys, that's why he's no longer with us. Is he gave his body to this sport. And all these surgeries, 15 or 20 back surgeries, all the things he's had, his neck surgery, and his body just gave out. And part of it giving out was he's kept doing this until into his 50s. And now he's wrestling guys that he's got to take some bumps for. This isn't like the old days where you just put the big boot out and give the leg drop. This is like you're taking some bumps now, And it definitely took its effect on him, but he gave his all, man. And that's the Hulk Hogan I know.
And I mean, he never stopped. I mean, obviously, it was only in January that obviously we saw him, on the Netflix debut of Raw. He's obviously had his beer, Real American Beer. He was about to launch Real American Freestyle for promotion that is still going ahead. And they're very much going to honour him with that first show that they'd already announced at the end of August. So, I mean, he wasn't stopping in any way, shape or form. I just think as I say, the outpouring of love and sadness that's come by in the last week is a testament to just how much of an iconic figure he was. And yes, there was controversy, but as you say, Mark, there is controversy in everyone's life. We all make mistakes, we all make missteps, and unfortunately he was of such a high, under such a giant microscope that his missteps are far bigger than mine and yours are ever going to be in terms of column inches and newspaper coverage. But there is absolutely no denying the fact that he was, a truly one-of-a-kind performer and individual who changed the lives of many, many, many people. Not just fans, but there's so many people that work in the wrestling industry today who, wouldn't have it, have it without him. There's a lot of the tributes went out the other day that were people just saying thank you for the house, because that's the reality, isn't it? Hulkamania drew the house for most of the 80s, and a lot of people really were able to kind of follow on in his lofty footsteps. But I wanted to leave I'll ask you both for some final words. Ash, when I ask you about Hulk Hogan, What does he mean to you?
To me, Hulk Hogan, when I think about him, Hulk Hogan was sports entertainment before sports entertainment was sports entertainment. I mean, that guy, if you go back, watch any of his matches, so theatrical, so amazing. He made you feel things. He made you care about, the match, the things. And as I said it at the start, Mount Rushmore, undoubtedly, Hulk is on there. The other three you can argue, but he's on there. He put wrestling on the world map. The world knows Hulk Hogan. Without him, there would be, I think, no WWF. There'd be no WrestleMania, and how many people he inspired. So I think I call him maybe the founding father of the sport, because who knew wrestling before? He made it, brought it to us, and made us love it. So he meant everything to the sport, I think.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, just much bigger than a professional wrestler, bigger than a sports entertainer. He was a global figure. I mean, it's crazy to me, the timing, that just a couple of weeks before he passed, I got to do that interview with Kurt Fuller, and we spent a whole hour sharing lots of laughs about the crazy film that is No Holds Barred. But the fact is, that film only gets made because Hulk Hogan is so big. He needs his own film, and that film, despite all of the giant plot holes and craziness, that film goes head to head with the third Indiana Jones movie in 1989 and competes and comes second place to Indiana Jones. Like, that's how huge Hulkamania was. That in his first real movie as a leading man, he can go head to head with Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford. So yeah, for me, just truly larger than life in every sense of the word. And I'm going to leave the final words to his friend Marc Mero.
Well, he was iconic, and in every sense of the word. I guess if you have that word iconic in the dictionary, you see Hulk Hogan's picture right next to it. I'm blessed that I can call him a friend, and I'm a better person because I knew Hulk Hogan. I just seen the charity work he did. I seen the way he treated fans, the way he was so kind to people, and all the people that I ran into that needed a little help, a little encouragement. And I'd text Hulk and just say, hey, any chance you get this guy out of picture, or could do this or do that? And he'd always do it, man, every single time. And especially my friend Delvis Franco, who was dying of cancer. He grew up watching Hulk Hogan, and his brother said to me, is there any way you can get Hulk just to give him some encouragement, maybe just send him a video? And as soon as I said it to Hulk, he goes, brother, it's on its way. And that day, he made the most beautiful video that I still have of him reaching out to my friend on his deathbed. And when my friend Delvis heard his voice, his eyes just opened up, and he was just so happy that Hulk Hogan knew who he was. And Hulk Hogan encouraged him, don't give up, man, keep fighting. And he did. He fought right till the end. And I can't thank him enough for making my life better, knowing him, and all he's done for so many people. He's a great guy, and I believe I'm going to be seeing him again someday, and there's going to be a reunion in heaven and a celebration that will never end.
Absolutely. And as I've seen a lot of people sharing the last week as well, there's that iconic moment of him holding up a sign, Hulkamania lives forever. Yeah. And, Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea, Hulkamania will never be forgotten. We'll never let it be forgotten. And I'm really grateful to you, Mark, and you, Ash, for being able to join me today. It was important that we jumped on very quickly and recorded this Gone Too Soon, because, we're all trying to process a lot of emotions right now. And I'm sorry, Mark, for the loss of your friend. I know you've lost a lot of good friends in the last few years, and this is another brother that has gone too soon. But as you say, you know where you're going.
And let me just say this, Ben, to people out there, enjoy every moment. Life passes so quickly, man. Don't live with bitterness, resentment, anger, or unforgiveness. Enjoy each day and make it special. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, such a pleasure, Mark, as always. And subject appreciation, as always. Thank you, as always, to Jeff Easton from Tall Lake Productions, who will make this a beautiful, beautiful presentation, as he always does. Thanks to Ash for joining me today. We've got a few of these Gone Too Scenes in the series now, haven't we? We've covered Mr. Perfect, your good friend, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, Yokozuna. So all people that very dear to us as fans, and people that I sorely and selfishly wish I could have on the show, but it's the next best thing. And today we've done the best we can to honour the late great Hulk Hogan. So thank you guys. This has been Ben Veal. This has been Wrestling Life. My special guests, Marc Mero and Ash Ajaz. We'll see you soon for more real talk for real talent. See ya.
See you guys.